Welcome to the Keelhauled Podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today. So tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we've got a lot to talk about. Not only is it the 8th year anniversary of the Keelhauled Podcast, but we also got a developer update video that's going to explain a lot about what we can expect with the future of Sea of Thieves. All that and more in this week's episode of Keelhauled Podcast. But before we get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons. They're the ones that went over to patreon.com/Keelhauled Podcast to support this content for many, many a year. And I thank them always because it means the world to me that they do this. They don't have to. It's very much appreciative. So as always, thank you to A-Chick, L-Cute, Balls, Blue Turtle V1, Captain Chonky, Captain Longsharts, Chateau Noof, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Crazy Frog, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Godhammer 6, Jeff H, Caro Embo of Embo Family Gaming, Kylia the Aficionado, Elvin Vramir, Evil Morpheus, Space Admiral Oars, Xbox Mike 29, Rabid Raccoon, Blue Crab, Reap's Revenge, Registella the Brony Pirate, Ribloid, Rustbelt Kid, Sea Leg Sam, Shoe Daddy 13, Skamelt 666, Tales of the Sea, The Demon Jester, Tommy D, TN Professor, Wailing Witch, Wild Hog Murph, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Hager Owl, Captain Duckweed, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Luke Lore the Insipid Ghost, and Zam. Wow. Thank you all so much for your love, for the support, and for a fantastic congratulations that will be at the end of the episode. So stay tuned at the end for that. With that, pirates, let's get into it. First on today's docket, shout out to the community for being just awesome. This 21st of February was the 8-year anniversary of Keelhauled. This was something that I started way back in February of 2018, shortly after it was January when I discovered the game. And it seems like every year that goes by is just another year that I am just continued to be impressed with Sea of Thieves and how I've managed to continue making podcasts. It seems like every weekend I sit down and I put together my notes and I take a look at what's been going on in the world of Sea of Thieves. And while some weekends there's lighter news and some weekends there's a lot of news and some weekends it's just good to kind of see how things are going with the community, it always kind of reminds me that I've always appreciated that Sea of Thieves has been one of these games that I just, for whatever reason, just continued to love and enjoy and spend time in, even when things are down, even when we're in our low times, but especially when we're in our high times and when there's stuff to be excited about. So thank you to everyone who helped with the awesome little message that's going to be in this episode that put it together for the congratulations for 8 years. It's wild to think that it all just kind of started because of the open beta and playing it with folks that I didn't know and getting to know folks that I had never met before and jumping in and having a really, really good time with it. And the opportunities that that's opened up, you know, being able to talk to the devs, being able to have interviews with the devs, being able to meet the devs at festivals and conventions and stuff like that, and getting a chance to really kind of like build a community. I think the Discord is amazing with a ton of folks that come in and bring their own awesome ideas and thoughts to our community for things to do and things to kind of celebrate, and keeping up with everyone and trying to just generally let you guys know what's going on in Sea of Thieves. And that's not going to change for the foreseeable future. One of these days I'll eventually have to put down the podcast microphone. But at 400, at 8 years, I mean, I'm this close. I might as well just keep pushing to the next 10 years and see if Rare continues working on Sea of Thieves and that plan of it being a 10-year game like they originally said they wanted to do. So, and because of that, it's always really interesting to kind of see when there's a sea change. going on with Sea of Thieves. And I would say that I've definitely seen quite a few changes. We've talked about them quite extensively on this podcast, but at the end of the day, the one thing that always kind of remains the same is the passion for the game. Whether you're happy with it or not happy with it, being able to express that and know that the intent is always, we want to keep playing this game. We want to keep having a good time with it, and we want to see it in its best state. And we want that for the devs. We want the devs to be proud of the work that they're putting out as well, too. So I continue to try and put out my best work. I continue to try and make sure that the community is healthy, and make sure that everyone's having a good time and enjoying their time with us. So hopefully this is something that is bringing a positive impact on your life. I know for a lot of folks, having that Monday morning podcast means a lot, having something to listen to. And I don't blame you, because especially as someone who listened to a lot of podcasts, there was something about having a regular podcast, knowing like, oh man, it's Monday. I don't have to worry. I've got a podcast to listen to. It'll be good. And I'll be able to make it through the beginning of my work week, if that's where your work week starts. I know for a lot of folks it doesn't, but for the most part, a lot of folks, they have to go back to work on Mondays, and boy howdy, are them Mondays tough. You can't hide in your inbox forever. You have to go out and actually talk to people, and then the meetings start rolling in, or the appointments start queuing up, and you wonder, how am I going to even make it through this day? And podcasts are one of those things that I absolutely love, to be able to help people get through their day and hopefully a good start to their week. And I think this is a good week for us to actually kick off some Sea of Thieves news on, because I am hopeful, even though I've definitely seen these kind of comments come round. I feel like this is the first time we can actually get into kind of seeing the sea change at Rare come quickly. And I'm actually very excited about this. So with that, let's get into the next topic. And again, thank you to everyone who wished me a congratulations or had a part in the celebration for Keelhauled on the 8th anniversary. It actually snuck up on me, and I hadn't really been paying close attention to like the dates, but shout out to Norwegian, especially for helping out with that, and Caleb, as well as everyone else, Davram, Achik, everyone, Regis, everyone that kind of popped in, Godhammering, you guys, all fantastic human beings, and I love having you part of the community. It's definitely made my gaming experience enjoyable, to kind of have everyone around and join up. And I'm looking forward to the community episode, which is actually going to be, I believe, on the 28th of this month, which is, February is always a bit of a weird month because of how many weeks there are compared to how many days and whatnot. But we're going to be having the Gold Hoarder recording on February 28th. Again, that's going to be 1 p.m. Pacific time. That's going to be 4 p.m. Eastern time and 9 p.m. British Summer Time, or what is it, GMT right now? I think it's GMT right now. I think they're the same. I think Spring Forward hasn't quite happened just yet. So yeah, but anyway, with that, let's get into it. First on today's docket, beyond what we were talking about with the anniversary, let's get into the dev update video that came out on the 18th. Drew decided to come in with some really kind of awakening information, and I really appreciated the candidness of this video, because it shows that there's definitely some conversations happening on inside the studios. And to kind of kick things off, he wanted to go into talking about servers. And I appreciated this because it is something that a lot of folks have been talking about. They've been talking about it for a while, but it was nice to kind of hear that this is being addressed currently and with future plans to actually continue on as well, too. So he talked about kind of the importance of when crews are migrated onto different servers and what that means. Currently, I think at the most I've seen, what was it, like I think 3 to 4 ships merge at one time. I think I've literally been able to count like the number of Reapers on a server, including myself at the time, then get merged over to a different server. So there's a lot of reasons why this happens, and there's a lot of rules in place to kind of figure out how this takes place. And Drew goes into some detail actually on X or Twitter, and says that servers have an optimal lifetime, and on reaching end of life or low population, they will prioritize moving crews onto busier servers. There are many factors in place that kind of govern when that happens, but ultimately migration is necessary at times. And in the video, he talked about how the goal at the top end is to ensure that servers have 6 ships on them at all times. And that on lower end servers, they're looking to find out where they can change some of the rules that are currently in place to ensure that you are getting migrated over quicker, as opposed to being stuck on a dead server or a low pop server. And the idea there is to try and ensure that players always have the opportunity to run into other folks, or at least have a reason to be on a server with another crew, especially in a game time right now where diving to and from servers will kind of eliminate the opportunity to really kind of get to know like crews or ships on a server. You know, back in the day, before diving, you used to be able to kind of feel out what was going on with a server. You know, you'd kind of take note of what crews were where, who they were, how they were playing, and what was going on with them. And you could kind of base your gameplay around that. You know, sometimes you would go and you would be a Reaper and you'd kind of clear out an entire server, and then there wouldn't be any other crews around. So you'd either dive or not dive, but you'd go through the tall tale tunnels, or you would just quit the server and start up a server on a new one, and everyone would go looking for, you know, something that was interesting. And now with diving, that's kind of eliminated. You can kind of dive to and from any server that you want, and see what's going on, and just kind of be able to find what you're looking for on a server natively, typically with enough dives. So it was kind of interesting to kind of see that not only have they been working on this since January's update, but they're continuing that with the upcoming update in March on the 5th when they release Act 3. And I appreciate that, because I think a lot of us have kind of seen that it's something that people want to be able to have. They want to be able to have that opportunity where there's going to be other players to interact with, whether positively or negatively, but they want to have those kind of conversations and to be able to have those stories that are kind of built up. And I think that that's going to be kind of the overlying theme of this episode is getting back to when we had player driven stories. But at the end of the day, they are working to optimize servers for 6 ships in the latest patch. They're now working to migrating ships to servers closer together, so that while they're looking to find kind of that fine line between being able to find ships on a server without necessarily getting surprised because someone merged in closer than you had time to react. Because that was definitely something that was kind of an issue early on when the server dive system came in. You could literally be at an island and someone would dive and they would pop up one island away. And if you were in the middle of doing something and it was, you know, you're working on, say, like a gold vault, you had no way to know or even have time. You could literally go down or go up to your crow's nest, take a quick peek around, grab your key, head over to the vault, start it, go down inside. And by the time you were done with that 2 minutes, somebody could have dove in and sailed over and started getting to your ship, and you would have no recourse. So that fine line between having ships populating into a server and having them being close enough to be able to recognize that they're there or see that they're there with enough time to be able to deal or decide what you're going to do, versus them being too close and not having that opportunity is going to be very interesting to kind of see how things go. And I would encourage everyone to kind of keep an eye on things as they come in with this new update, because they are going to change how things are operating. And if it feels bad, that we kind of, you know, take note of that and let them know. If it feels good, also say like, hey, you know, it feels fine. It feels like I'm running into people again on servers, which is kind of the goal, right? I think for me, the question still stands, and we'll kind of have to hopefully hear from them on the community direct or in the patch notes, or maybe even a forum post. I'll take a forum post, Drew, about this, but it would be fantastic to kind of get a better understanding of what some of the rules are to be aware of as players who are looking to do things in the game that require a lot of stagnant time to be passed. So in this example, what I'll pose as the emissary reward for hitting grade 5 for Hunter's Call allows you to find and hunt down ancient megalodons. When you hit that grade 5, you have zero knowledge of where that megalodon's going to be at. If there's going to be one on the server currently, there's typically at least one, but there is like a downtime between them when one despawns and another spawns, and you don't really know where that's going to happen. So if you're, say, in I'll use Shores of Plenty as the example. Say you hit grade 5 in Shores of Plenty, you just turned in your loot, and you want to go hunting a megalodon. If that megalodon is, say, over by Sharktooth Key over in the wilds, that's quite the hike from Port Merrick. And that can be something. It's like, okay, well, I definitely want to go hunt that megalodon. That is something that I want to do, but I've been on this server a while, and haven't really run into anyone. It doesn't seem like anyone's coming into the server. There's been a couple hourglass matches, but for the most part, everyone's kind of doing their own thing, and we really haven't had very many interactions. And the last thing that I would hate to have happen is the intent be ruined. The intent of wanting to work towards that ancient megalodon. And I don't know, in the past, I know a lot of folks have used the Skull of Siren song to try and retain access to the server that they're on, to stay on there, have part of it done or part of it kind of worked on. But I would hate for players to run into that horrible feeling of when you are on a server and you're working towards going out to kill something and you're in the middle of sailing towards it. The intent is there, but you get server merged, and before you know it, you're on a completely different server with a lack of the thing that you're hunting, no ancient megs or the wrong one at that time. And then you're forced to do a dive to then go and try and actually do that. And with them looking to incentivize keeping players on servers, that is one of those things that I'd love to have a better understanding. And I don't necessarily expect them to go into all of the rule sets, because I can imagine it's a very complex system. I can imagine that there's a lot of rules and circumstances that have to be taken into account when they go and decide when they need to move players off of decaying servers or old servers that are near the end of life, or there's just low population and they need to move players over to a more active server, that they try and take some of that stuff into account. So what I would say is like, it would be fantastic to know that if I'm grade 5 Hunter's Call and I'm looking to hunt down the Barney, we'll take Barney for an example, and I want to go hunt down Barney, that if I get merged on my way to that Barney, that it takes into account the server state that I'm on, which has like an ancient barnacle dread, and it puts me onto a server that still has an ancient barnacle dread. That would be a great way to kind of reassure players that your time is still valued and that your intent, whether you're planning on it or not, is still managed, even though we are moving you from one server to another. One of the other concerns that I have is to do with the messages in a bottle. And specifically, when you merge off of a server, you lose your voyages, right? Whether they're from the message board, remember those, or they're a emissary quest that you picked up after hitting grade 5, or they're a message in a bottle. All of those leave when you shift from servers. That's just the nature of how servers work, right? And the trouble is if I am actively working on a message in a bottle quest, and in this instance, I'll take the merchant cargo quests, the crate quests, because I think that those are some of the ones that are the hardest to find. Thankfully, little anecdote here, actually managed to get a cannonball crate one today, and I was very, very happy about that, which I think kind of brings me a little bit closer to finishing those off, but they're extremely difficult to find in the world right now, especially with the surplus of smuggler message in the bottles. I think the siren, or the not the siren, what are they called? Are they called siren ones? The ones that give you the Listerine bottles, the siren messages in a bottle that send you down into the shrines. Those even feel very low in population compared to just smuggler messages in a bottle. Now, I understand that we are only one season removed from smuggler commendations, and that is something that, we want to take into account as people are coming into the game. They are probably still working on smuggler stuff. For those of us that were here and were actively working on it at the time of season 17, because that's all there really was. There wasn't a whole lot really to mess around with that. It is one of those situations where it is tough to try and find those messages in a bottle. And Drew kind of addressed this online. He did talk about, because someone, a Dr. Banana Squid on X said, I heard you talking about fixes, one being commendation fixes for season 19. Is merchant crate / keg deliveries a part of these fixes? And then he added Drew. Drew said, I'm afraid not. Those commendation fixes I referenced were hourglass improvements, which we've talked a little bit about the change to the rewards that have been announced in the insiders. And we'll be getting into that a little bit later in this episode, hopefully, if I remember. But Rare knows that the merchant commendations are a big frustration, though. It's high on the list to fix. These and then someone comes in, Hippo comes in and says, what currently is broken with the hourglass commendations? I know that there are a few that are just weirdly worded, but I can't think of any that have been broken, which I would argue there's some very clear examples. So Drew says these commendations do not adequately support same faction battles, which can feel pretty unrewarding, as it's out of your control. We're fixing these to ensure they track progress irrelevant of which crews you are matched with, which is true. If you go and take a look at a lot of the commendations for Hourglass, many of them require you, once you have gotten your curse, to then fight a certain number of the opposite faction, which is really tough because, like Drew points out, you have no control over that. You have no idea who you're getting matched up against. And in many cases, because of matchmaking and the intent of keeping matchmaking quick, that you have no control over who you're fighting against, and that a lot of same faction battles tend to occur, which does not help progress the very high number of battles you have to do. And unfortunately, Drew does go on to talk to someone else about this on social media and actually indicate that at the time of the fix coming into Sea of Thieves with season 19, that those commendations will not be retroactive. So unfortunately, anyone who may have, earned progress through them, where some of them may not have counted, unfortunately, those are not possible to be able to reclaim some of those, which is interesting in my mind, because again, I feel like we've always kind of been able to take a look at milestones as a backup way of ensuring that when commendations don't accurately register whatever quantity or increase they need to have, the milestone is always kind of there to back it up. And I'll point to the ancient Megs to come right back to it as an example of when the commendations weren't registering kills, because it was whoever got the killing blow for the ancient Megalodon got credit for the kill on their commendation. Even if you had participated in the battle at some point and contributed, you did not get credit. It was whoever got the killing blow. But milestones were there as a way to kind of indicate, hey, yes, the milestone registered that the kill for the ancient Megalodon was registered. So therefore, the commendation should should be reflective of that. I don't know what word I was going there. I was just stuttering at that point. But looking back at what they're looking to do with the messages in a bottle, while they are hopefully going to get that fixed, soon so that the messages in a bottle are better reflective of the commendations that need to get addressed. And to be perfectly honest, all they would really need to do, and I know that Merchant is already bloated enough with commodities and lost shipment voyages and the crates and the animals and all of that. If there was a way that you could actively just put down a voyage to go and actually do these crate deliveries on their own, I would even be willing to throw down the medley voyage if it was inclusive of that. But at the time, I've had very little luck getting the crate voyages to pop. You typically have to go looking for the books, the mysterious books on islands, or get lucky with the message in a bottle spawn with the flotsam or the barrels of plenty. And it's just, it's really, really frustrating, but I'm glad to hear that they know that that's high on the list. But if they're going to be tweaking how server migration happens, I hope that they take a look at when you are switching servers. If that person who has a voyage that they're currently that they have in their inventory, it would be great to know that if I get merged off, because I have no control over when that happens, but I do have control over the voyages that I've actually put on the table and that I'm working towards. It would be nice to have some sort of reassurance or some understanding that I'm not going to get server merged off of the server that I'm on that happens to have one of these very sought after voyages that I happen to find. And I just, I go to the outpost. I stop at the outpost. I hop on the outpost. The server recognizes that I'm on a specific part of land, triggers it for migration. And as I'm about to grab the crate, it server merges me. I don't think that that's necessarily what would happen, but that's a fear and a concern that I have, that it would be nice to have a little bit of an unveiling of information or behind the scenes about how that's going to work. Some of the major issues with the game that they wanted to talk about that were going to be addressed in the upcoming update as well revolves around player health and player movement. Not so much player health as in like HP, but the health of the game. They said that they want to improve and continue to work on the improvement to ladders in the upcoming update in March, as the ladder update is looking to make it a little more reliable or feel better when you're grabbing, releasing a ladder or climbing up a ladder should feel better. No word if this is going to address the bug where you just can't actually grab a ladder. That was something that I know I'm still seeing in the game from time to time. It's hard to pinpoint how or why it happens, but every once in a while you just can't grab a ladder and you actually have to die, which is a little bit harder when you're solo. You kind of have to just hope that something will kill you so that you can go to the ferry and come back to be able to then see if you can actually grab onto the ladders again. One of the other things that they did talk about, or that Drew talked about specifically, was the fix to players being harpooned from a cannon or being knocked off a cannon. Should no longer cause you to get stuck or unable to use items. This is incredibly important when it comes to Hourglass or just fights in general. If you get knocked off a cannon, you usually go to grab it, and reactions by players is always going to be a little bit faster than I think what servers can necessarily handle. Sometimes, sometimes you want to immediately grab onto something and the server's just like, it gets hung up, and there's the registration issues as a result of that. And that can cause trouble with interactions and just UI in general, which then prevent you from being able to use items, which incredibly important on stuff like that. There are definitely some things that I think I would like to see kind of change as well. Quality of life, I'll say right off the bat, if Rare can take a look, and this is why it's kind of like a lower tier issue, but if Rare can take a look at the outpost barrels and try and rebalance those, they're going to be working on, as far as like giving you a storage crate when you're diving for Hourglass, is one of the things that they're looking to address. But when it comes to actually like the barrels at outposts, I really feel like we just have too many bait and fireworks available. I feel like with fireworks, those are something that, you know, you can find those on crates, on islands. You can find them in shipwrecks. Not really a question about how to get those. You can buy them from the Merchant Alliance as well too. It feels like they're unnecessary. And I'd much rather have proactive supplies as opposed to fun stuff. Bait, again, is one of those things. You can buy a crate of bait from the Merchant Alliance, which is accessible. You can also dig them up on islands as well too. If you're on the sand, you can get is it leeches? I think it's leeches on the beach, earthworms on the grass, and grubs halfway between those areas. And it's, you know, it's not common knowledge. It's not something that I would say many people would have had like a tutorial for or anything, but it is something that's possible. And because of that, I just wanted to see if there was a way to like add that as like a quality of life improvement to the list of things that I know Rare has to work on. But the whoever is working on the balance for barrels at an outpost when it comes to the actual supplies, having those tuned down a little bit would be great. I know a lot of people were upset when they had like messages in the bottle in the barrels as well too, considering I'm hunting for those now. I kind of wish that was still a thing, but that's like a wish, not a want. So I like that they're going to continue to working on the game and looking at specific issues that they can do that aren't development costs that require you to develop a new system or to really kind of retune or tool a current system. But one of the other issues that I think I ran into was the fact that some of the UI just is in dire need of updating. The seasonal stuff is nice. It was nice to get the axe. It was nice to get that repurpose of the what was it called? The adventure system. Yeah. The adventure system where they have like the 3 acts that you kind of work through, and they kind of released each act as a different adventure. It was nice to get that kind of repurposed, so it didn't go to the wayside. But things like pinning different reputations and having quick access to that is completely wiped out. It's only available on the main screen, which is kind of funny. And just a bunch of things. I think I ran into a bug where I was doing dives for Merchant Alliance crates, the what do you call them? The cargo crates, the Ashen cargo crate voyage. The executive one was throwing down those, and it kept showing the Hunter's Call logo for the actual voyage on the map table. And it was like, okay, well, we were doing Hunter's Call. We were doing Meg voyages before that. So kind of makes sense that it's like a weird like bug that's a little bit of a hangover, but little things like that. It's like, I just kind of wonder how much of that kind of stuff gets reported compared to just the the assumption that, oh, it's just rare. It's just a bug kind of thing. So I don't know. There's a lot of things that I have to imagine they get reports on and just kind of fall into that low category of issues. It's like QA kind of like, oh, that'd be nice if we could get it fixed, but we have much more pressing issues to worry about kind of thing with their sprints. So I'm just kind of curious to kind of see how that all works out. But I am happy to see that they have specific things that they want to address. Right now, it feels like they're working very hard to try and ensure that Hourglass is something that is going to be the main focus as far as their quality fixes for improvements, taking care of bugs and stuff like that, because it's not going to be a real fun last ship standing if you can't grab your ladder or you can't use your food after getting hit off a cannon. Things like that are going to be very important with the upcoming changes to Hourglass, which are actually coming on this first the first patch of season 19, not Act 3, but season 19, the beginning of season 19, which is still going to be in March, mind you. Like, remember, we're only going to have 2 weeks of Ashen Garrisons before we move into season 19 and the great doubloon wipe happens. So just as a reminder as well too, there's those items that you're going to have: the belt, the sails, and I think the sword. I'm trying to go off of memory right now. But those items that are going to be available for doubloons that we still don't have values for. And Rare had let us know that we were going to have lots of time to be able to take care of that. So I don't know when that news is going to come out, but boy, howdy, they better release the values. Cause I'm not sitting on so many that I'm not worried about it, but I am sitting on enough that I feel like I'll be able to get them, but I don't know because we just don't have the numbers yet. And that is something that genuinely like haunts me as I'm thinking about stuff that's coming to the game. I'm like, God, how many doubloons do I have? Do I have enough? I don't know. I genuinely don't know if I have enough doubloons right now. And I guess, and the other thing that's worse about this is that I don't have a lot of gold because I've been buying all my captaincy trinkets, right? So I'm only like north of a million gold. So it's just one of those situations where I'm looking at my doubloons and I'm like, is 13K enough? I hope so. I hope it is. You know, if they're going to wipe them, I don't know why you would want them to be something that is so extraordinarily high of a cost. Like if people have doubloons and it's enough, I mean, is 13K enough? Do I need 25K? Rare hasn't told me. And we're like a month away at this point. I feel like, you know, if you have worked on this, you have plans on this system going into place, it would be kind of nice to kind of know soon how many I'm going to need, because I'm either going to start saving up gold to convert into doubloons to be able to buy them because they're time limited, or I'm going to have to figure that out. So I might actually ping Drew tonight when it gets later and it gets close to like Monday morning. I might actually like post a message on social media and just be like, hey, we're coming in on a month away from the great doubloon wipe. It'd be fantastic to know how many doubloons I need to start working on to be able to get all of the cosmetics, because it's not like I've really been spending my doubloons on anything, but at the same time, I don't want to miss out on these kind of thing, you know? So that was kind of the main majority of stuff that was coming in from the developer update. That was in regards to the health of the game and things that they're going to be addressing with the upcoming update. We did actually get a video kind of introducing like the quote unquote Ashen garrisons. Shout out to the video team. They're always on top of it. But John McMurtry and his team came out. They put out the Ashen garrisons video and talked a little bit about like what to expect with these. And I'm genuinely happy with what I saw in the video. Now, I'm already going to tell you right now that the Ashen garrisons are larger versions of sea forts that are more complex. I like the designs of them. And as long as the bugs are worked out with them and the things that they've talked about on Insiders regarding the Ashen keys are going to be like true to form, then I'll be happy with these. I don't know how much people are going to really like stick with these after it comes out and after they get their commendations done. But one of the things that we found out as a result of the video is that during the 2 weeks, that these Ashen garrisons are going to be live for season 18, there's going to be an opportunity for mega stashes for these to actually appear. And inside of them look like Reaper chests that don't look like a standard Reaper chest, and they don't look like a standard Reaper bounty. They look like the ones that are from the new Reaper voyages. So I don't know necessarily if they're going to award doubloons. I hope that they do, because that's going to help with this, especially with the mega stashes. But the assortment of loot inside look pretty good. You're going to get 5 of the Ashen bounty chests. You're going to get some kingly loot. There's going to be some rage chests. You're also going to get some or an Ashen Athena, as well as the generous and what are the smaller gifts called? Bountiful? No. Generous and something else. See, this is what happens when you actually do these commendations during the time that they're active, is that you don't think about the names of the gifts anywhere, but effectively the gifts, the lighter version and the better version are all going to be in there. So I think the intent here, and I could be wrong, but I think Rare's intent is to give players an opportunity to get as many doubloons as they can in an easiest way that they can, while still working on new content to ensure that when those cosmetics come out with season 19 and the great doubloon wipe happens, everyone has had an opportunity at least to work on getting enough doubloons to be able to do that. I'm hoping that with March 5th coming up, that we will actually be getting those values laid out to us to then let us know this is how many more you need to work on, or you're good, don't worry about it. One of the other things that came in as a result of the content update video that I appreciate about this is that Rare actually talked about the rewards that are actually going to be associated with the commendations and the deeds for the Ashen Garrisons. Now, we already kind of know what the deed reward is going to be. It's going to be the Ashen Garrison sales. Those have been present on Acts 3 for quite some time. And while I don't know necessarily, no, I do know, I just can't remember. But I do know that the deeds are available online. So let me actually take a moment to actually look those up. I think you have to do a dive to one. I think you have to open a vault, and I think you have to turn in a log. But I'm actually going to hop into the game real quick and then see if I can take a look at what those actual deeds are so that I can then provide them to you, because I know I've talked about it in the past, but I can't remember what they are. So as a result, I'm going to go take a quick look here. But in the meantime, let's talk about the rewards. So if you do enough of these and you work on the commendations, which I'll see if I can take a look at what the commendations are going to be. I should have, now that I think about it, I should have actually jumped into Insiders, because I think the commendations are probably going to be live on Insiders, which if you haven't done your Insider week, again, this is your weekly reminder. Make sure you go out and do a skeleton camp to get your rewards so that you can continue working on those, because I think I logged it in at 62 or 64 weeks worth of rewards that you need to do. And it resets every week, but you should probably take a look and make sure that you're actually doing that, which is amazing, because I actually went through and I was counting up, and it used to be like 250 some weeks worth of effort in Insiders that you had to go and do. And now it's only like a quarter of that or something like that. And it's much, much easier to actually get your Insider rewards. And I think I'm actually pretty close to getting my cat, which I'm looking forward to, because a white cat. But I have no reason to bring out my cats because they just get in the way. And it'd be fantastic if that was one of those things where it's like, hey, Rare, it'd be great if the pets were only visible to me and my crew. If I toggle a feature so that they're non-interactable, they just hang out with me, but they're one of those things where it's like they're around and about, but I don't have to accidentally worry about picking them up in combat, and they don't get in the way, and they don't scream every time there's any sense of combat around, because that gets really annoying when you're playing the game and get into the combat. Okay, so the deed itself for Act 3, if you're looking to do the Ashen Garrisons, you have to unlock an entrance, sell any lighthouse log to the Reaper's Bones, which is the final item in one of the vaults that you'll need Ashen Keys for. You need to defeat a Garrison Keymaster at an Ashen Garrison, which, trust me, you'll be finding a lot of those guys. You'll need to defeat a Custodian of the Treasury at an Ashen Garrison, which is going to be the guy that actually drops the way to get into the vault down in there, the Treasury Vault. And you have to unlock a locked compartment in the Ashen Garrison's treasury, which you'll need the Ashen Keys for. And as Insiders has told me, they've said that there's supposed to be enough Ashen Keys to open those up on the actual fortress themselves. So you should not need to, but the video itself actually said that if you bring Ashen Keys, you'll be able to open up those locked compartments. So mixed messaging on that one, unfortunately. I would say that it's going to be nigh impossible to get them unless you fish them up while you're there, if you're doing a dive. Now, if you go do an emergent one, you could probably have them on your ship from finding Ashen Guardians. I think the last time I saw one, it was over on Shipwreck Bay. Just, you can get them, you can fish them up. You can't buy voyages to get them anymore, but hopefully if the Ashen garrisons are working as intended. According to the insiders, they said that you should at least have enough on the actual garrison to be able to open up the compartments in there to then be able to actually get one of those logs, which were formerly called something else. And I'm very glad that they decided to change the verbiage on those, because it just didn't make sense. You also have to unlock the office room as an Ashen garrison, which is one of those things that it's going to be one of the Ashen Guardian key masters. He'll drop another key. You find the office. There's lore in there, so be aware that's where the lore is. That's probably tied to the actual commendations that you'll need to do. You'll need to place treasure on one of the Reaper Bones rowboats at an Ashen garrison. So there's a rowboat down in one of the portcullis loading docks, similar to the sea forts, which, if I'm being 100% honest, I think that having a rowboat in there to begin with would be much better than the pulley and lever system of the loading thing that they have in the sea forts. I would be totally fine getting rid of that and having it be one of those things that you can actually just have like a rowboat down in there at all times. But I don't know if that's necessarily going to work, because there's always kegs on those and the kegs always explode. And if all the kegs explode, there's a good chance that it'll damage the rowboat, which you don't have to worry about when there's a loading dock. So maybe that's a scratch in the idea on that one. You do have to complete an emergent Ashen garrison, which is effectively just not doing a dive 2 one. And then you just have to complete an Ashen garrison raid voyage, which is a dive to them. So you have to do at least 2, and you have to go and complete, pretty much open up all the rooms and the compartments within the treasury, and then turn in the log, the lighthouse log, to the Reaper's Bones. So you'll have to make a trip from the Devil's Roar to Reaper's Bones to be able to get all of the deeds. And when you do that, that's when you'll actually get the Ashen garrison sales. Now I'm going to log out here and see if, actually, before I log out, I'm going to go check and see if there's any little flags that might be floating in the water, because you never know. I scuttled my ship, or not my ship. I scuttled a ship the other day and had a gold hoarder sail up into Ancient Spire, and then literally got murdered by a level 5 Reaper who came up, sank them, killed them, and then sank them, left the game themselves, and their ship sank. Like, I was hiding in the crow's nest, waiting for this gold hoarder to go do something interesting. The Reaper's Bones, or the Reaper crew, came by, decided that they were going to do something interesting. And then I went to actually go and jump on their boat. And when I got onto their boat to then hide on their boat, they scuttled. And I was like, well, now there's a level 5 flag for Reapers, and there's a level 1 gold hoarder flag just sitting in the water. I'm just going to go pick these up and then get my ship and then come back and turn these both in, because why not? But stuff like that happens, so that's one of those things you never know. Go, if you ever log into the game, just go check it out. You never know what you're going to find, because there's plenty of people who don't go and lower their flag. It's just like, and they go and leave the game, and there's a level 5 flag sitting there with a bunch of supplies that they didn't care about, because it was like, I don't care. There's no value to me for that, so I don't care about the 5,000 blah blah blahs that's going to be in there. So you never know. But I'm going to launch the insiders and see if I can find out what those commendations are, to at least give you an idea of what those are going to be. Because while I don't necessarily think that it's the final end all be all, it should be close enough to what's going to hit live that you at least have an idea of what you'll need to work on. Which, as a reminder, if you guys if you haven't done it yet and you've gotten all your deeds completed, there is a new commendation this act, in Act 2, to be able to go and kill, 5? I think it was turn in 5 keys to the smugglers by killing ancient guards, which is one of those things. It's like, oh, I already killed the ancient guards that I need to go activate all the forts. You just have to remember, you still need to go and actually do one of the or 5 of the ancient guardians to be able to go and actually turn in the keys to the smugglers. No one else, because we were turning keys into the different trade companies. in the first act. Now we got to give them the smugglers for some reason. I guess they got lonely. I guess they were like, how come we don't get part of the cake? I wanted a piece of cake, which, spoiler alert, cake is a lie. But with the new commendations coming out, they did announce in this video some of the rewards that you're going to be able to get. And I actually really like that. It feels like we're going back to kind of what old events used to be like, where you worked through the event to actually get the cosmetics from that event. It harkens back to Cursed Sails. It harkens back to the Devil's Roar when that first was introduced. And when you actually complete the event, you got access to buy the cosmetics from that. And I'm glad that we're doing that. So we're going to be getting the Dark Skies ship set by completing all of the commendations. You'll have access to them by completing all of the commendations. And you're also going to be able to, if you do all the deeds and all of those commendations, you'll be able to have access to not just the Dark Skies cosmetic set for your ship. You'll also get that Ashen Garrison sails for the deeds. And then you'll actually unlock the Dark Skies ship and weapon set. Yeah, I think I was mixing them up, but you get the ship and the weapon set. And the commendations are live for the on the insiders. So looking at these, let me take a quick look here. Return Sanctuary of the Banished Keys to the Smugglers. Okay, so there's 2 journals. No, I'm sorry. Are these I think these might be older commendations. Okay, yes. There's 2 journals in the Smuggler's Hideout. That's for that one. That's for this one. So then okay, so yes, there are 3 new journals that I'm pretty sure these are new. I'll have to go back and check, but I think those are new that you'll have to read. And all 3 oh no, these are older ones. Okay, so I think these journals are the older ones. Never mind. You've got the Ashen Garrison raid voyage. You need to do 5 of those. These, by the way, are the commendations in Adventure, where they're under the Secret of the Banished commendations. So they're the ones that are specifically for this season. So you have to do 5 raid voyages to an Ashen Guardian. You need to complete 3 emergent Ashen Garrisons. You need to dock rowboats at the Ashen Garrison 3 times. Locked compartments in the Ashen Garrison's treasury. You got to open 10 of them. You need to defeat 30 skeletons at an Ashen Garrison, which is easy. You need to lower the sea gate on an Ashen Garrison, which is funny because the way the icon looks, if you were to lower the garrison gate, it would actually be closing the gate. Whereas I think the intent of the portcullis was to open it, which would be raising it as opposed to lowering it. So I might have to put in a bug report if that's the case. I need to go to an Ashen Garrison to actually see if the sea gate. I already have it done, which is the worst part. Oh, I guess I could. No, I can't. I don't want to delete my part. Never mind. You have to use a Trident of the Banished on the Custodian of the Treasury, which I hate this one because it means there's a lot of extra work that you actually have to do for that. You have to find an ancient, or you have to find an Eternal Guard. You have to then take a key to one of the banished treasury, or no, one of the what's it called? The sanctuaries. You have to take the key to one of the sanctuaries, and you actually have to open the sanctuary, get the tridents out of there, and then go and actually do one of the Ashen Garrisons. And it's just a lot of effort for one, but whatever, Custodian, more like Dustodian, is the name of the commendation. The other thing that you have to do is you have to defeat skeletons on an Ashen Garrison while mimicking one. So get ready to get your blow dart out, because you're going to have to use that thing to be able to mimic one of the Ashen, or one of the skeletons on there. And you have to kill 15 skeletons as an Ashen Garrison skeleton, which is not hard at all. Very easy. You then have to sell one of the Oath lighthouse logs and then sell, no, wait, is it? Oh, it's grade 1. Okay. So there's multiple grades to this one. So you're going to have to sell a certain number of lighthouse logs, which makes sense. They want you to do at least 8 of these. They want you to do at least 8, which means that I'm going to go on a limb here and say that grade 5 of this lighthouse logs is going to be 10. They're going to want you to turn in 10. So you'll have to do 2 more than you actually need to do. The grade 2 for the chalice lighthouse logs is 1 of 3. So I imagine that 5 would be grade 3, 7 would be grade 4, and then 10 would be grade 5. That's my guess, unless it's just an exorbitant amount. And they're like, all right, we're going to make you go do 20 of these. But well, I'll have to, I would have to go and actually do 2 more logs, turn-ins to be able to do that, which I guess I could probably go do. I could probably go find out what that is. But that's it. That's effectively it. The hardest one is actually going to be more of a time constraint, and that's going to be forcing you to go and actually kill an eternal guard to be able to get the key to open up a banished, a sanctuary. No, a banished. I already forgot what they're called. The sanctuaries, the banished sanctuary, and get the tridents, the pixie sticks out of there to then be able to go and kill the custodian, and specifically the custodian of the treasury, who has the key for the actual treasury. So that's one of those things where probably going to have to be like an emergent fort, which means if you're out there, best bet in my mind, I gotta say, probably good to go out and actually do a dive, like a dig up, like a gold hoarder dive or a merchant crate dive to the roar to actually get out there. Actually, the merchant crate ones won't guarantee that you go out there. Now that I think about it, but I would say do a dive to get out to the roar, get an idea of whether or not there's actually activity out there. If there's not, go hunting for an emergent guardian, try and get the trident, and then work towards getting the emergent garrison done, since you won't be able to dive with the tridents on board. So use one of your emergents to go get those tridents. And I just forgot what I was going to do. I was going to restore my boat. So looking at the, actually, I'm going to go see if maybe if I'm lucky, I don't know if this will be the case, but they might have the doubloon rewards at Lorena. So I'm going to go take a quick peek and just see if Lorena's actually got these. If she does, and she has values, I'll be able to report on that. If not, rip, but we'll have to see. I don't actually, nope, there's nothing. They black market, it's coming back, boys. So yeah, those are the commendations. Those are the deeds for the Ashen Garrisons that are coming out on March 5th, along with the patch notes as talked about the game health, as far as like ladders, as far as like inoperability of items when getting knocked off of cannons or harpooned off of cannons. Those things are in the work towards making servers feel a little more populated. All of those things are all coming with March 5th, and that doesn't include the stuff that's coming with season 19 regarding like the hourglass changes. Season 19 is when all of the hourglass stuff is coming, including the last week or the last month of the act, where they're going to be doing the last ship standing thing. So just as a heads up on as far as the timeline goes, when those hourglass changes are coming in, that's going to be again at the beginning of season 19. All right, so let's get into season 19 and talk about what we can kind of expect. So right off the bat, Rare has decided that they're going to delay the community direct. And a lot of this comes from the feedback that's been given, the result of them changing the way that they're doing seasons, and that they're going to be doing this 3-act structure. And it's clear that with 2 delays in season 18 alone, back in November, when they had to delay it from launching, to act 3 having to be delayed just due to the nature of content not being ready or in the state that would be good for release, they're going to be talking about more about what they want to do in the community direct with the team as a whole when that comes later on. And to be perfectly honest, yeah, I feel like the key points that he made was that monthly content is feeling rushed, that they aren't materially expanding the game, and that the cadence is negatively impacting their team. And yeah, this cadence has never been something that's lasted more than a year with the studio, and keeping up that pace inevitably is going to result in either lesser quality content or burnt out teams who are having to work too hard to try and hit the deadlines. It's just not feasible with the way that they're doing this content. They've always done better when they've had big releases with big announcements for content that's coming outside of just the seasonal grind. And usually with these kind of big things, now that we have like insiders without the NDA, it feels as though it's a lot easier to kind of talk about and share our feedback on content that's coming. And thankfully so, because I think if we hadn't been able to talk about Ash and Garrisons and the state that they're in outside of forums, I don't know that they would have felt that it was enough of an issue that they couldn't address post-launch to hold it back. And it's hard to know, because I think that there were definitely a lot of content creators, a lot of streamers who were putting out videos who were talking about the state of these and how they're coming across. And because of that, it feels like, yes, we will have to wait, but I'm hoping that the delay is something that will positively impact the overall community, the community that isn't tied into the updates or watching content too much. They just want to go in and play the game. And they don't necessarily, like, they see, what was it? Like PlayStation actually had a season 18 video, the video that we typically get from Rare on the Sea of Thieves channel. There was actually a promotional video over on PlayStation. Now, funny enough, the comments on there had absolutely nothing to do with Sea of Thieves. It was all, why did you shut down Blue Point? Fire Holman Hurst, I think is his name. Herman Holst, I think. Yeah, I think it's Herman Holst. But it was like the bad news about what Sony did with Blue Point, which was a studio that was working on remakes for Demon Souls, and there was one other, Shadow of the Colossus. Rightfully so, good studio got shut down. But it was funny to see that the comments were completely about the news that they had with the studio closure and not about Sea of Thieves at all. They were just using the comment section as a feeder to share their discontent with Sony as a console manufacturer at that point. So looking at, I forgot where my place was. So looking at their cadence and how they're doing this. Yeah, I'm glad that the delays for Act 3 took place. I'm glad that they are really candidly talking about the fact that they recognize that seasonal content is just not hitting the mark. And I think the three things that they talked about, the fact that the content feels rushed, the fact that the content that's coming is not materially expanding the game, which it should grow the world in a way that enriches it. Right now, all we've been given are additions to the game with a new boss that is in the form of the Eternal Guard, which I like. I think it's a good boss. It's fun to fight against. You have the banished chambers, or I'm totally blanking on what they're called. But you have the loot that's down in there, which is pretty good loot. I have to say, pretty good job on designing how they want the loot to be in there. The purple tridents, or as I like to call them, Witch called them, pixie sticks, which I like pixie sticks. Those are exceptionally amazing. And I genuinely can't wait to find out after season 18 is over, if those will become emergent tools that we find in the world, because typically a lot of this stuff is kind of locked behind the season and where you can find them to kind of like gate them for the time being. And then eventually, like, tridents made their way to the open world. You had what was the other one? There was something I was just talking about this earlier, and there was something else that came to the world that was emergent. Oh, cursed cannonballs were initially something that you got as a result of sinking ships. And then you could use those cursed cannonballs later on. Actually, did they? No, I don't know that they did. I think they came in an update later on. But technically, I guess, yeah, they were technically gated. But I don't think that it was something that you got as a reward, because I don't remember that at all. But it's one of those things where when an update comes, we typically have an introduction to the world in the form of a tool or something added to the game. And then eventually it makes its way out into the open world that you can just kind of find. And as a result of that, I'm hoping that what will happen is that these pixie sticks will make their way out into the world. Now they can be, relatively rare, but it's nice when you find a couple tridents and you're kind of out and about doing stuff, and you can grab those and then use those in those ways. And the pixie ones are fantastic. I love them. I love the damage that they deal. I love that they are very strong. And, if they're a little more rare than a standard trident, then I'm okay with that, because at least then when I get one, I'm going to be like, I don't want to dive off this server until I've done something to justify having this thing, because it's really strong. So maybe I'll go find an Eternal Guard, or maybe I'll go take on a world event where I can make some quick work of it because I've got this pixie stick with me. So I'm hoping that that's the case. But getting back to the comments, the materially expanding the world is kind of a vague thing, but we've seen this with the way that they've done good updates. Like Ancient Megs is a good example that expanded Hunter's Call in a positive way. I don't know that I'd necessarily say that the Reaper's Bones update truly expanded the way that people should be playing Reaper's Bones. I don't think that that's how Reaper's Bones people want to play Reaper's Bones. I think a lot of people playing Reaper's Bones want to go after other crews. So I think fixing the server density with the population of a server is going to be the thing that rewards that better than going to do, effectively a combination of different aspects of the different trade companies with the chests and stuff. So I'm glad that after 2 seasons, season 17 with the smugglers, which I'm going to be perfectly honest, should have been a reputation and should have been more unique than what we got as a result of the type of voyages that we're consuming, because we're literally just ferrying loot from one thing to another. And the golden path of smugglers, that whole thing is just not good. It's not something that anyone, I think, actively seeks out. It falls in the same category as commodities, which, for those that are hazy on commodities, they're the surplus and sought after things that the merchant have, where they have you buy it surplus and then sell somewhere else for sought after to get a reward. Ever since Rare went in and destroyed the gold value of those, nobody cares about those. Nobody touches them. Nobody thinks about them. They are not impactful to the game in the slightest, because you don't have a voyage to do them. They don't count for voyage completions. They don't count for voyage miles. They're literally just something that if you happen to be working on Merchant Alliance, and this is the best case scenario, you work on Merchant Alliance and you do sail 2 voyages for merchant cargo. So you pick up the rum and the plants and the cloth, and you just happen to have the commodities on your ship as you go around, potentially getting close enough to a outpost to justify making a pit stop to go turn these in. Otherwise, the gold is not great. It's not great, and I don't think that the reputation's great either. Even at like a grade 5, they genuinely are not really worth it to do. And because of that, when I look at smugglers, I feel the same sentiment. I feel the same exact role play. When I had to go through and do all of the smuggler commendations, it was a grind. And the best thing to do was literally to put down a voyage to sail to, go pick it up, take that, and then drive it up, turn it in, and then do immediate sail to go back up to where like Solomon was, pick up the stuff to take back down to Lone Cove. It was repetitious in a way that didn't feel engaging, because no one in the game is striving to work on those anymore. There's so much in the world to do, and people are diving in and out of servers, that content that's on demand does not require you to necessarily go seek out one thing in the world at any given point in time. I think the last time that people really focused in on doing stuff are world event things. And we're talking like the mega stashes for the Reaper Fortresses, or the event where they had the mega stashes for like the 15 Athena's chests. And before that, the last time folks really cared about going after someone else was the Skull of the Siren Song, the Briggsy Voyage. But once everyone got those done, that was it. That was completion. The only thing that people really chase, who've kind of worked and played the game actively as their main game for quite some time, are genuinely the chests of fortune. And that's because those typically move, and because those typically have a new grade every season with a new set of 30 chests that you have to go and turn in, and they keep the rewards going for that. So clearly the formula works. And unfortunately, and they have had ways where you can kind of play catch up, and it does involve you getting involved with PvP. So there is that aspect to it, which means that folks that are adverse to that are probably not going to worry about it because they're probably never going to really engage with it. But everyone else has a pretty good time going and trying to fight for those chests. Now, with Rare looking at how they are going to be developing the game at this point, they're taking a good, hard, long look at themselves and saying, what can we as a studio genuinely expect for quality content updates? And I hope that serious conversation is being had in the leadership, like they say, because I don't think the studio needs to release content at the start of a season all at once, because that was really hard for them. They had to keep delaying a season because content wasn't ready to launch with at the beginning of the season. So I don't think that that's necessarily the answer. I think the studio can keep seasons. They can keep Renown. They can keep the Emporium updates, and I think they can keep community events. But let's have the story beats with meaningful content to the game come when it's reason in the same, when it's ready in the same fashion that they did with A Pirate's Life, with Tall Tales, with Monkey Island, with the original 3 main updates that were delivered in 2018. Stability is first for the community. If we can't trust the health of the game, then that things are working, then it's hard to know what's considered a bug and what's just part of the world. And that stuff, and when you're running into an issue, you can't sit there and say like, oh, okay, well, it's just the game. It's Rare. It's just a bug. It's just how it is. And you feel defeated because you're trying to like enjoy the game, and the game is blocking you from being able to do that. And you have to worry at some point, like, when is it the community's job to continue submitting reports of these bugs when you're spending 2 to 3 hours a night or 4 to 6 hours on a stream, and you're running into so many frequent bugs that have been reported in the past and have been fixed and then have broken again? And it doesn't feel like there's recursive QA being done, that nobody's going back to content and playing the game and being like, that's a thing. I should probably make a note about that and actually send that over to Q, or send that over to the dev team to take a look at, because we ran into it in QA. It doesn't feel like that. So the stability of the game is most likely paramount to the community first. If you can't enjoy playing the game, then you don't want to play the game, period. That's when I would say like thoughtful changes to the world probably come second. This can range from quality of life items like harpoons, the meat ring, supply crates, and inventory updates, to changes to the world, like adding skeleton camps, mega stashes, ancient megs, and even hourglass. When these things have life in them and grow with time, players feel less need to want something fresh. We're seeing this with the upcoming changes to Hourglass, a mode that has been stagnant since launch. Guilds fall into the category, as well as captaincy, of things that have been launched in a 1.0 and then never touched again. So when Rare says, and I think that their idea of a seasonal with the 3 acts, where the first act is new content, the second act is a live event, and then the third act is revamping an old or an old part of the world to bring life to it is fantastic on paper. But I don't think that the studio is at a point where they can work through that cadence and deliver on time. So this is where I will point to the first year, as I think is a great example of when they had 4 teams. They had one team that was crunching hard to make Hungering Deep. They had a second team that had plans to bring content that they had been working on and ideas that they had been working on with Cursed Sails. Then they had a third team that had the most amount of time that was working on the expansion to the world with the Devil's Roar, right? Once Hungering Deep was done, that team was then assigned to work on Shrouded Spoils. And that leapfrog approach seemed to work pretty well. I don't know if that's what they're still doing, if that's how the teams are split up with seasons, but clearly whatever teams are currently working on seasonal content broken up into the 3 monthly segments are really only getting 3 months of time to work on content from the feel of it. I could be wrong about this. Whereas in the past, they had a team that had from effectively May all the way till September, or I would say maybe April to September, like a whole half of a year basically, to work on Devil's Roar. And we've seen this with Tall Tales. Tall Tales took a very long time to build. They brought in people from outside the studio to build out like a lot of the George coming in to teach them and help design a lot of the traps and puzzles that went along with the first Tall Tales. Then they expanded into Arena, and they did a really good job of creating an idea of an on-demand PvP with a system. The trouble is that the development and growth of Adventure was impacting the same string of code that was affecting Arena, and it was just too much upkeep, and they didn't have ways to reinvigorate the people that were playing in Arena, because once you hit Legendary Sea Dog, you got all your reputation, you got all your cosmetics. There was not really much of a reason for you to jump back in outside of the love of the thing. And that's the current issue with Hourglass. The only difference is that there are people who will play Hourglass indefinitely, and that is their mode. Most people will play Hourglass for a while until they get their curses. A lot of people, I would say like the more casual folks, may dip in and dip out, but generally probably aren't touching much Hourglass. And I'm glad that they're taking some time to focus on that, because in the first focus of season 19 is when they're going to bring in the Hourglass battles. So starting at the end of March, when they kick off with their 8th anniversary, which is going to have an event. They'll actually have an anniversary themed community weekend and an event for the 8th year celebration with rewards to earn. And I'm going to say right now, I don't know what they are, but I would very, very much like to see the golden sailor cosmetics come out, as well as for Pirate Legends, the special Pirate Legend cosmetics that came out. I would like to have areas in those 2 fields that have traditionally been anniversary cosmetics brought to the game, so that we can kind of continue down that path of celebrating the game and its release on March 20th, and then kind of move on from there with the Hourglass stuff. Bring us the shrinking battle zones, the starting supplies to ensure that people have at least the bare minimum, if they haven't gone out and gotten more, to be able to start each battle. The quick rematch. Once you lose, if you want to jump back in, or if you win, if you want to jump back in, you can re-vote while in the tunnel and still and then jump right back into the matchmaking. Having the automatic emissary flag raise, having the commendations fixed so that it's easier to account for same faction battles, having the improved allegiance rewards, which I talked about, I think last episode, where they're going to have ship cosmetics, an emote, and makeup. Was it makeup? I think it was makeup, where they're going to have effectively stuff built in from 0 to 100 to give players something to look forward to on their way to the curse. And they're going to kick this off with 2 weekends worth of fight nights with increased rewards, which will be nice because I think that that's everyone wants to give this a shot. Everyone wants to actually do that. And they're going to be adding during the fight nights, the Fallen Sea Dog jacket in March's fight nights. So you'll be able to earn the Fallen Sea Dog jacket. And then subsequently during future events that are competitive events in the coming months, they talk about months. I don't know if they necessarily mean months. They're going to be releasing more of the Fallen Sea Dog set. And what I will then say is, Rare, if you release cosmetics that are tied to events based around a time frame, kill the FOMO for this and just allow people to be able to earn anything that was previously available at the same time as the new event. Just add to it. Don't subtract from it. Give us the jacket. Then the next time something comes around, if you want to give us the gloves, offer us the gloves and the jacket. Don't remove content from being available for players to be able to get just because they didn't happen to be able to be playing or didn't happen to know that that was going on, missed out, but still want to have that content. Don't build in this FOMO. The FOMO is the thing that people are really kind of sick of lately. So I will say that yes, time limited cosmetics are good to an extent. I like that the season cosmetics, especially for like the Pirate Legend, the one-offs, the little things that they're tossing in, I like that those are time limited because they're easy enough to earn and they're available during a season. They are bringing that stuff back and that's fine, but at least the people that were there at the time will have a certain amount of time that they can appreciate knowing that they were there at the time that they had it. With the Great Doubloon reset, we're going to be seeing more of that. I still have not seen an answer to what people who have been around since the beginning of seasons are going to have available to them after the wipe, after they've gotten the commemorative doubloon content. What is the incentive for them in the black market if they've already had access to this? Are there going to be recolors? Are there going to be something special that people who are getting doubloons at this point and don't have a reason to spend them because the cosmetics are offered in the black market are already in their inventory? We're going to fall right back into that same exact loop of people don't have anything to buy doubloons with, because they were already there at the beginning when the cosmetics were first launched. So they're going to stockpile these doubloons and there's no reason for them to spend them because they don't know how that's going to go in the future. So you have to address the people if you don't want this to happen again. If you don't want doubloons to end up being one of those things that just turns into a worthless currency because everyone has a bunch of them and the people that have everything don't have anything to spend them on, and the people that have tons of stuff to buy them can't get them enough. There has to be an answer to that. Otherwise, we're just going to run into the exact same economy issue that we did prior to the great doubloon wipe that's coming, right? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about season 19 in April. They are going to be bringing in the Bilge Rat Weekender. Now, I've already got concerns based on the insider conversations that have been happening in there. But basically, this is a pirate festival where popular events are going to be making a return. They're going to be reopening the black market. They say opening. This is a reopening. It was always there. You can always go talk to Lorena. And I'm assuming that this means that Duke is back, which he was a Dark Lord. Everyone didn't know it until it happened. He became part of the Dark Brethren Court. You can't be part of the Dark Brethren Court unless you're dark. And most of the other people there are all either, like captains or warsmiths, or they've got their own things. So he's coming back. Everyone's going to be happy that Duke is back. And it's going to be one of those things. It's like, he's laid his cards on the table at this point. So, hopefully he has the true nature of what a bilge rat is, which is the freedom to be whoever you want in the Sea of Thieves and not be beholden to anyone, except this time it still feels like he's part of the Dark Brethren court because he's working with the captain, and he's still part of a team of people who are doing stuff for their own devices, which still feels very much like a reputation. Just they're not calling it a reputation with the smugglers. But the Bilge Rat Weekender is going to have Black Market, and they're going to have the reoccurring event each month with different prizes, events, and challenges. So to give you guys a bit of an insight on what's been expressed in the insider forums, the voyages that are going to be available are this is a high level overview, by the way. But in essence, there's going to be voyages that you have access to that are only in high seas and done through your quest table. There's special voyages. You're going to choose the limited voyage ones, and it's called a Smuggler's Doubloon Run. And for this voyage, you will be using the Smuggler's Golden Route, which is marked on the map table between the two smuggler hideout locations with an etched line that everyone can see. You'll be requested to meet a smuggler at the intended hideout to collect a crate that you'll then need to smuggle. It's not really smuggling. It's just kind of cargoing it there. But you have to take you have to go to the end point there, where they've created a makeshift camp, collect the Bilge Rat doubloon crate. The crate itself will have a note on where to take it, but it's on the golden path. So you should be able to do this, and you can turn this in for a set amount of doubloons. You can do this up to 3 times during the weekender. And the idea here is that you get the doubloons from the doubloon crate, but this is something that you can continue to do. And it will, the first 3 turn-ins will be for doubloons. After that, it's just going to be for gold. And the crate is something that can be stolen by other crews. And any stolen doubloon crates will always sell for doubloons. So if you steal one, after you've already sold 3 yourself, the stolen one will always give you doubloons. And to be perfectly honest, I feel like this doesn't really address the concerns about bloating the seas with a currency if there's an indefinite amount of doubloon crates that you can get if you steal them. Granted, you'll only get 3 crates for yourself for doubloons, but if you can steal them at any point, there are going to be people who are good at PvP and good at sinking ships who are probably going to start running into the case where they have more doubloons than they actually need, which does not address the economic concerns behind wiping this in the first place, in my opinion. There are some issues currently in Insiders that they're working on, so it's nice to see that. But it's not something that I feel is going to be fantastic. They've got challenges where you'll receive a challenge checklist where you'll be tasked with completing fun and whimsical challenges that suit the pair or party that is the weekender. For those that any pirate swabby can do, all the way up to things that even pirate legends have never even thought of doing. And I have not gotten a chance to actually take a look at this. But then again, they've got the return of the live weekend events for the weekender, where you can have chances to earn doubloons during the weekender. And these events will rotate in plan to range from Splash delighting a festival of fishing through to the thrill of a Dark Fortress raid. And they will kind of just depend on what they want you to go out and do. As a result, Lorena is going to have the black market to purchase some of the desirable items, which were previously only available as season rewards. Lorena will replace her stock with new items each time a Bilge Rat Weekenders begins. So if you see something you like, make sure to grab it while you can. I hate FOMO. And this is one of those situations where, again, I don't have to worry about this, even though I don't like it, because to be perfectly honest, I've been here, and that may not be the case for everyone. Some people may have been around and may not completed the seasonal renown to be able to get all the rewards, and that's great. But shouldn't there be a scenario where they take into account people who've been around collecting all the rewards? Should there not be something like one item that you can pick up that is brand new to people who have everything? Because if that's the case, then fantastic. I feel like I get to join in on the fun of, buying stuff from the black market and having a reason to collect doubloons. But if there's not, then why do I care about the Build Rat Weekender if doubloons hold no value because there's nothing worth me getting because I already have it all? There's no reason for someone like myself to actively want to engage in the Build Rats Weekender, right? Like what's the drive? Where's the incentive to stock up doubloons for something that may or may not come in the great future? Whereas I think that if they come at this at a different approach and they have more evergreen designs around being able to buy a Voyage of Luck with doubloons every season, you just, you have the opportunity to buy up to 5 Voyage of Lucks for 30 doubloons each or 50 doubloons each. That would be an incentive, a renewable incentive to be able to continue collecting doubloons, because I may not care about cosmetics that I already have because those I've already earned them, but a Voyage of Luck, having a chance of being a golden Voyage of Luck, will always hold value because gold will always be something that is driving people. And eventually I'm assuming that the reputations will be reset at some point. Currently at 500, most people still working on those to a degree, even the ones that they may not necessarily want to. But it's a renewable source, and it's not something that anyone has to do at any given point in time. It just gives you the opportunity to say, hey, if you don't want to buy any cosmetics, nothing appeals to you in these past cosmetics, but you still want to have a reason to farm doubloons because you may want to have Voyages of Luck, then good news. You can have 5 Voyages of Luck. They will last the entire season. So you have the entire season to work on them, and they will be 50 doubloons each. So you have to spend, 250 doubloons every season if you want to have these additional Voyages of Luck. Now, you don't have to, but it's an option. It's an option there if you have all the cosmetics and there's nothing else for you. And it's not something that necessarily does anything outside of people who log in day one at the beginning of a season and get their Voyage of Luck and watch all the Twitch drops to get their Voyages of Luck, or jump on the pirate pop-up plunder world train for the community event to get their Voyages of Luck. Like, there's enough readily accessible Voyages of Luck out there that I don't think that adding 5 per pirate for a decent cost for a currency that they are actively looking to mitigate the bloat on, that it would be a detriment to the gameplay experience. I think that it, in my mind, would be a decent quality of life experience, because there's some stuff in those Voyages of Luck that are rather difficult to get. Treacherous plunder, scales and teeth from megalodons, raid voyages. Hell, put flags in there if you really want to. There's things that you can tweak with that. Gifts that will give you an opportunity to pick up on something that you may not necessarily have access to readily throughout the game. And that's always something. It's like that's the RNG basis of those voyages. And I think that would be a decent enough way to kind of say, like, hey, you want to have a good chance at getting these. Let's keep the economy low, and let's give players an opportunity to do something other than just converting from straight doubloons to gold. And honestly, I'm going to go back to Static Mirror, who talked about it in a podcast a long time ago for the gold hoarders, who addressed the same concerns about having a way to translate gold into doubloons. Let people who have millions of gold be able to do something with that gold by giving them a chance to do doubloons. If I have millions of gold and no doubloons because of the great doubloon wipe of season 19, and I want to buy Voyages of Luck every season, then yeah, I will happily convert gold to doubloons, especially if the main way that I'm going to be getting doubloons is through the weekenders. If I miss a weekender, I don't have any recourse to get doubloons outside of the normal means. And if that's the case, then I feel like I would like to have another economic avenue for me to be able to get these. Now, I know I'm going on a bit of a tirade about this, but I'm not too thrilled about the intent, or not the intent, but the execution behind the Bilge Rat Weekenders on paper. I think that the intent is great, but I think that the execution needs to be tweaked, if not for the fact that this will be something that will have better long-term use case for players outside of just fresh swabbies. And I think that I don't think that is too much to ask when it comes to having the discussion about this at this stage, because this last week we just found out about this. So there's still a decent amount, enough time between now and April, that I think that they could change some of the way that they are planning to do this to ensure to account for everyone and not just people who haven't been around. And I don't think that that's, it's kind of like when we were asking for more stuff to do as a pirate legend. There were people who wanted to do that. You had to address the big group of people who weren't pirate legend, but you still have to address pirate legend. That's kind of where I'm falling in with this, the Bilge Rat Weekender and the doubloon currency switch. And that's going to be April. So looking at April, looking at March, we've got Hourglass changes and then the Bilge Rat Weekenders. And then things that are going to be coming in May are the last ship standing. And this is going to be the six sloop crews fighting against each other to find out who's going to be first, or who's going to be the last ship standing. It's going to be solo or duo. And we had the test recently, and it looks like a lot of people enjoyed it. It is in the Sea of the Damned. It does not have the weird green fog. And they've designed the arena space to have unique enough markers in the world environment to kind of give you points of interest to kind of indicate where crews are. So like over by the purple coral, things like that, to be able to kind of have like easy identifiers to say where crews are or where you're headed towards or what's going on, so that players have better way to kind of communicate their expression in a giant circle, that you don't necessarily have like easy ways to kind of like take a look at the compass and see, okay, to the north, there's not really a good way to do that in this arena. I would push Rare to take the opportunity to do even more with these environments. Don't just have them be interesting looking rocks with coral colors on them. Build them up as worlds, build them up as I mean, I'll take Smuggler's Bay as the example. Have a battle take place in a giant bay near an island where the world, because it's all Sea of the Damned, it's all made up. There's nothing has to look normal in Sea of the Damned. It's all just memories. You can do whatever you want in there. It doesn't matter. Have one of the circles be like you are fighting in and amongst a giant city on an island where there are towers around and there's like ships in the background. I think of like the giant bay in Tall Tales, like Monkey Island, when you go to Stan and you have all of the giant ships kind of lined up on a dock. Expand that bay, make it huge, give points of interest at the different quadrants for like north, south, east, west, and have it feel like you're in a place that we've never been to before in Sea of Thieves, and is only created through the memories of the players outside of the Sea of Thieves. Have Sea of the Damned be something that we can experience up an area that we've never been to. Have an ice biome, have a jungle biome, have a city biome, have a like a tropical biome, have an underwater biome, have a shipwreck biome. Do whatever you want with that. Have that be just a wild space where you can genuinely have full creative control and go outside of what would normally be a part of the Sea of Thieves, because there are so many constraints with how it has to look, which is why we don't have an ice biome. We have a Devil's Roar, and that's the strongest we've had as far as a shift in biomes since the launch of the game. And that is it. That is genuinely the most stretch that Adventure has had outside of changing Port Merrick and Reaper's Fortress, or Reaper's Hideout. Those are the only two areas that we've seen major changes to the world But even then, they're not biome changes. You want to do biomes, you want to explore with that and have fun. Use the Sea of the Damned, use the Last Ship Standing as a way to go outside the box and go for it. Have fun and make it look amazing. There's no timeline on this. There's no requirement on it. And is there a return on investment? Maybe not. It's hard to know with that kind of thing. But I tell you, the more passion you put into this mode, the more people are going to be driven towards it. But there has to be something like something at the end of it. Like there needs to be like something to have a reason to do that. Sorry. I almost forgot that one of the things that they talked about with the Build Rat Weekender is that you could turn some of these in. You could turn something in, and I can't remember what it is, but you can turn something in to actually get it was the Smuggler Voyages of Doubloons alongside the new doubloon crate that you can turn in. There's going to be a gifting. There's going to be a gifting that you get a single cosmetic item for the safe return of the lost cargo, along with more doubloons. So the new smuggler's recovery of a secret shipment will be introduced. So that's another thing that it'll be interesting to see how that plays out as well too, because I remember back in 2018 in an interview, I think it might've been 2017, in an interview with Mike Chapman had the idea that the Athena chest could be something that gave you gold or cosmetics, or the idea of giving a cosmetic with a chest that you turn in, and that you could steal that from someone and turn it in and get a cosmetic that way, was something that has been around for almost 9 years at this point. So there's a lot of ideas that they're putting into this, but there are catches that I hope Rare listens to from people who've been playing the game for a long time, to kind of ensure that it's more inclusive and doesn't fall into the trope of the fear of missing out aspect of this, because I think that will damage people's opinion on this in a way that causes them not to engage. But getting back to the season 19, it is clear that Rare has been cooking with a lot of this stuff, and they're looking to have more testing, hopefully, with the Last Ship Standing. They did the short time frame test the other day. I think it was like the 18th on the Thursday. And please just schedule multiple of these. Have players keep it in insiders, but have these announced that you're going to be doing these tests in videos, not just on forum posts. Not a lot of people go to the forums. Not a lot of people want to go to forums for this information. And not every content creator wants to scrub the forums to make sure that they don't miss out on this kind of stuff. So please, please, please keep introducing it in videos. Let people know when you're going to be doing insider testing for this kind of stuff, because the videos get more traction than most of the content creators who remember or don't remember to go to the forums to actually like look at this stuff, please. But things that are not going to be making their way to season 19 that they've talked about in the forums themselves: Orb of the Souls, updated Kraken, and the War of the Flame wrapper. All of those are going to be put on the back burner. They are not going to be working on those right now. And to be perfectly honest, I'm fine with this. I would have liked to have seen like what the Kraken was, or what it was going to do, or how that was going to work out. But to be genuinely honest, I don't care about that stuff, because there are bigger fish to fry right now. And if you want to put those into future developmental updates, go for it. Have those be things that players can check out and have fun with in the future, when we're feeling better about the state of the game. Because at the moment, whatever is going on with those things, I will look forward to them when they are good and ready. And I would love to be able to have testing of that for quite a while on the insiders. Give it a few months. Give it a few months for the Kraken. Let people kind of check it out and give their opinions. Get some analytics on things. let it go through testing for a while. That way we can actually see like, what is the use case? What is the intent here? Are people enjoying it? Are people looking to have something? Does people playing it spark an idea that you didn't think about? And now you've got the time, because there's no timeline on this. Now you've got the time. It's like, you know what? That is a really good thing. We could totally add this in, or we could totally tweak this. Let's take it back and we'll throw it back into production. We'll keep working on this and then see if we can put that back into insiders and see how people react to it then. That to me would be fantastic. I would be very happy with that type of content, and just kind of say like, these are the things we're playing around with, test them, see what you think, give the feedback, and then we'll take it back into production and we'll keep working on it. All right, pirates. I think that is going to do it for this episode. Again, thank you to everyone who congratulated me on the 8 years of the podcast. It has been fantastic. Look forward to seeing where it's going to go from there. And shout out to Rare for really just kind of taking a good hard look at what was working and what's not working and trying to address that. I can't wait to find out what this community direct has to say. And I genuinely hope that the way that they're approaching content addresses the fact that the design around seasons does not have to be absolutely coupled to a theme or a desire to try and deliver content in that season. It's totally okay with, I think, most of us, that we have a season, that it brings us new emissary ledger rewards, that it brings us new cosmetics in the shops. I know that the Emporium's always going to be a thing, but the shops need love as well. And that the cosmetics that are earned in the season are something that kind of remains. And to be honest, a lot of the plunder pass is just kind of dependent on whether or not people like the ship set that's involved in that. It's one of those scenarios where just having a season on a regular cadence is enough. I think the community weekends, and I think that the Voyages of Luck and the login bonuses are great. But if you just have themes for the season tied to the cosmetics, then that's great. Because whenever the content does come, at least then we'll have a sense that it should be released at the point where it's ready, not because there's an arbitrary date that's set to fall in line with a seasonal cadence. Just let the content be good, and when it's done, kind of thing. You know, it'll be done when it's Blizzard done, kind of thing. Just my 2 cents. Obviously, I know that that's not necessarily something that you can pitch to the financial people and be like, yeah, we're not going to have a real good reason for people to really jump into the beginning of the season to buy the plunder pass outside of the plunder pass for the next couple seasons. Is probably going to be something that's going to be delivered probably later to the end of the season. I get that. I totally understand that at the end of the day, the game is a business and the business needs to be earning money. The Emporium seems to be fine as far as cadence. So if that's what's driving purchases and stuff, then that's good. We have not seen updates to the numbers since I think the 40 million mark. So looking at Steam database, as far as like the numbers go, the game is still trending roughly about what it has for the last 3 months as far as like players, the player base itself. But I have to imagine that the game is probably hovering somewhere between 500 to a million monthly active users across the world, across the different ecosystems. But man, that'd be a fun detail to find out. That'd be cool. We found out how many monthly active users there actually was. I'd be very interested to find out what the monthly active user or the MAUs were in 2021 compared to 2026. That would be fun. I wouldn't mind that. Rare. I don't expect it, but it'd be fun. But that's going to do it, Pirates. I thank you everyone for listening. I did not realize this episode would be so long in the tooth, but this is, I think, one of those moments looking at the studio coming up on the 8-year anniversary and really kind of recognizing that they need to change things at a fundamental design level and cadence level if they hope to be able to have people that want to play the game and content that feels good without killing the studio's ability to do anything. All right, pirates, that's going to do it for this episode. So thank you. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.
Logan.
Hey, Logan.
Hey, CaptainLogun. Logan.
It's Davram.
It's A-Chick.
It's Norwegian. A message from Regis Stella.
This is Godhammer 6.
I wanted to wish you a happy anniversary to the Keelhauled Podcast.
Congratulations on 8 years of the podcast, Logan.
Happy 8 years of keel hauling the world of Sea of Thieves.
I wanted to take a minute to congratulate you on 8 years of the Keelhauled Podcast and the outstanding content that you bring all the fans of Sea of Thieves and the amazing community that you cultivated and created over the past 8 years.
Congratulations on 8 years of Keelhauled Podcast and creating this community.
And on behalf of myself and my crew, Rainbow Sam, Wailing Witch, and Tengu, we would all like to congratulate CaptainLogun on 8 years of the Keelhauled Podcast, a proud commendation.
We've traveled the world, we've become very close friends over this time frame, and I am very lucky to have you and call you a friend, and I just wish you all the best.
Captain, my captain, since discovering your podcast since the early day of Sea of Thieves, I have listened to your episodes for years at this point and enjoyed the thoughts, feedback, and insights that you've made about the game, and helping others and spreading the love of our community.
What started out as your love of the game has turned into a legendary voyage. For the last 8 years, you've kept crews coming back week after week for Sea of Thieves news, tales, lore, and plenty of laughs, and that's really no small feat on the open seas. Your dedication, creativity, and consistency have been amazing. It's not just about the episodes. It's about the community you've fostered, the conversations you've sparked, and how much love you put into every show that you do.
Your love and support of old salts and new has definitely brought everybody together, and I definitely would not have the crew that I sail with today without you. And I would have had the chance to meet all the great people within this community or have the chance to sail with them.
Congratulations on 8 years, and to many, many more.
Here's to 8 more years and beyond.
Cheers to you for all that you've accomplished, and to many more voyage and adventures on the high seas. I love you, and I'm so proud of you.
So thank you. Keep it going. 8 more years. You got this.
Long may the adventures continue.